Well, we're here on the campus of York University, just north of Toronto in Canada, and we've just had a couple days of events here and then also at the University of Toronto, where we were asking students, if you had a question about God or a question you could ask God, what would that question be? And we've spent hours having deep, meaningful conversations with students. It's been great to have Alycia and Nathan joining us here from the States as well. I'll just share a highlight for me was speaking with a young man from a Muslim background who was sharing just a lot about his own story and how he thought about his faith. But at one point in the conversation, he turned to me and he said, you know, the question that I have always wondered, which I've never had the chance to ask, is why do Christians use the symbol of the cross? What is that? What is it that means? How does that mean something to you? And, you know, it's the sort of thing that we are so familiar with as Christians, and it's something so precious to our faith that we can take for granted, that we see the story, the beautiful story it tells about, both about us and our need for God and His forgiveness, but also what He has done. So I just would love to hear from you guys. How have some conversations been here in Toronto?
Well, we should be clear, we did bait them in a little bit. We had a sign that said, ask a question about God or faith and receive a free Krispy Kreme donut. So
they like
people, well, you know what I think is interesting though, is people started as a joke, kind of like they're funny, like, oh, I'll just, but most of the conversations, 45 minute conversations are not uncommon. People are like, oh, I got to get to class, and then, you know, 30 minutes later, still standing there asking deep questions. I talked to a guy in a banana costume, all kinds of different things, but it was interesting that, you know, there's a shift after that kind of 5 minutes of they think, okay, this person's okay to talk to, that it really does go strangely deep, and that people are really longing to ask engaging questions with people that they think can answer them. And so I was impressed by a lot of vulnerability, a lot of really sincere questions. And just, it was fun to watch. The last girl I was talking to said, no, it just seems like if God is so big and powerful, there's no way He would love me enough to come down into the earth. I'm like, you are understanding it perfectly. That changes everything if that is true, is it not? And so I think we left a lot of people, well, as somebody said to you, like, this causes an existential crisis for me. And so it's just kind, it's funny, we laugh at stuff, but we're at the same time just pushing deeper and deeper, and it all starts with a donut and a big question.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, ultimately what we're looking for is someone just to be open to considering what truth might be. You know, so many people kind of follow things and they're just like, I haven't really thought about it, but I just don't really care. But I think what I really appreciated today was a young girl who came up to me from a Muslim background and who was just kind of like, you know, I'm open to hearing what else there is, and she knew some of Christianity, but not a ton, and we kind of went through everything. I mean, we talked for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whether it was through textual manuscripts, proof for the Bible, whether it was resurrection, it was why would Jesus die, how is God perfect, the Trinity. We went all over the place as she's trying to sort out what really is true, the belief of my family, or is there actually something else? And when you get someone who is open and who's willing to talk, I mean, I don't know, somebody said to me today that they watched the beginning of the conversation, her demeanor in the beginning of the conversation, and they saw her demeanor at the end and how it was so different. And you kind of just, you know, hope, Lord, I hope that we move from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You know, maybe they didn't make their way all the way around the clock today to bow the knee, you know, and I chatted with her about that because she wasn't quite ready, but just grateful that at least we were able to get her just that bit closer. And that seed was planted, and hopefully, if it wasn't watered before from somebody else planting a seed, hopefully it'll be watered in the future from this new seed. And so just grateful for how the Lord has utilized us, as Nathan said, with a donut and and a sign, just to have people say, look, I'm trying to process this out, and I don't see a lot of other people processing this out, but I'm willing to. And so just grateful for the Lord bringing those kind of people into our lives.
And I think it's neat, too, to watch Christians that were kind of on the edge then start to jump in and say, oh, actually, I can speak into this. And so it was also encouraging for the Christian students who were kind of hanging back to see how it would go. Then it was fun. It was one of the things that I really enjoyed, watching them step into that.
Well, I remember yesterday we were at the University of Toronto, and Logan and I were standing next to a young lady, and she was asked a question on, like, Christianity and evolution and science. And you know, Logan and I kind of just stood there, and we kind of let her kind of just bumble through it, and just as the point of just allowing her to grow and just resting on Jesus when you don't know the answers, and you're like, Lord, I don't know what to say, but I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to try and represent you, just to have her learn that reliance on God. And it was an uncomfortable position probably for her to be in, and Logan eventually did step in and help her out a bit, which was fine. But the point is that she was able to grow in that moment of just saying, you know what, God, I don't know what I'm going to say, and I don't always have the words, but I know that you're with me always, and so here we go. And so to be able to watch, you know, students go through that transformation, as Nathan said, is wonderful, and we're just grateful that we get to support the Christians as they do this as well.
Great. Well, thank you, Alycia, Nathan, for coming up north here and for
We came for the weather.
Yeah.
that's right, for giving donuts, but also giving some of your heart,
Yeah.
which I know you do as you have these conversations. So thank you for your prayers and encouragement and support for us as a team. We're excited just to continue to partner with campus ministries on these universities and see, as seeds plant, to see them grow. And thank you for sowing into the work that God's doing up here in Canada.
And helping
Thank
us
you.
buy donuts.
Yes.